Welcome to day number 1. We're going to start today by letting you know what equipment that you're going to need. So all you're going to need for today is 2 things. First thing you're going to need is a band in the shape of a loop. It doesn't have to be a band that's actually made into a loop like the one I have here, but if you've got this, great. But if not, you can take whatever band you've got and you can tie it into a loop that's about 1 foot long. Next thing you're going to need is a ball. So we're going to be using this primarily to massage, and so it's a massage ball that we've got here, something like a lacrosse ball. You don't want it to be too hard, but all we're going to need is a ball and a band for today, and naturally a chair to sit in. So if you can go get those and get ready, and then come back and we'll get started. So the first thing that we're going to need today is the ball. So we're going to start on the bottom of our feet. So you can take this ball, put it right on the floor like this, kick your shoes off or whatever it is that you're wearing, and you're just going to put that ball right on the bottom of your feet. So underneath your feet are a whole bunch of different muscles and your plantar fascia and a whole bunch of different joints and other such things that tend to get really tight and can get uncomfortable if we spend a lot of time on our feet. So a ball is one of the easiest ways to start loosening off our feet and making them operate the way that we want. So all you're going to do is take that ball, put it right in the middle of the bottom of your foot, and you're going to start by just rolling a little bit straight front to back. The amount of pressure that you use is entirely up to you. Some people find that this feels really good and they really want to lean forward and get into it. Other people find that it's a little sensitive, especially at the very start. So they're just going to kind of hover a little bit and not put a whole lot of pressure. Just use it as a gentle bit of pressure in there. So once you've gone front to back a few times and followed along with me, one of the things that you can do is you can move the ball a little bit out to the side, and you can let your knee fall in and you can lean away from the ball. And then you can do the same thing. You put the ball towards the inside of the bottom of your foot, kind of towards the arch of your foot. So a lot of people are going to be a lot more sensitive in there, and that's normal, just because there are some sensitive spots right in the middle of your arch where there's a couple of bones in there that just get a lot of strain when we're on our feet all the time. So that little spot in there, don't push as hard usually, but you'll find that there's usually some tender spots in there that you can get at as well. Good. And once you've done that, what you're going to do is move the ball just a couple inches forward in front of you, and then you're going to take it and you're going to put it right underneath the ball of your foot. So right underneath the knuckles, kind of at the base of your toes, the big bony part there. So you're going to put it there, then you're going to drop your heel down towards the floor, and you're just going to kind of windshield wiper back and forth. So you're going to take your feet, you're going to leave your heel on the ground, and you're going to move your toes just back and forth, so that the ball is actually going to go back and forth underneath kind of the big knuckles at the base of your toes here. So those knuckles are all supposed to move independent of each other. They're not supposed to stay rigid as one big area. They're all supposed to articulate and move. So we're going to use the ball and kind of push back and forth a little bit just to get them to move past each other a little bit more. Good. So once you've done that, we're going to move on, do the same thing on the other side. So just put the ball right underneath the middle of the other foot, and then you're just going to start by rolling straight front to back. So don't be surprised if they feel quite different side to side. Humans aren't built perfectly symmetrical. Most of us are a little bit different left to right, and then depending on what we spend our time doing in our life and the injuries that we've had and other such things, you're just going to be different on your left side than your right side. It might be about the same, but expect it to be a little bit different. So once you've gone straight front to back under the bottom of your foot and kind of worked out all those muscles in there, again, you can move the ball out to the side a little bit, let your knee fall in a tiny little bit or lean away, especially if that doesn't agree with your hip to have your knee fall in. And you can do the arch of your foot. So we're going to do towards the inside of our foot a little bit. And again, there's going to be a tender spot in there. Expect that to be tender for almost everybody. Good, and then once you've done that, we're going to bring it back towards the middle. We're going to move the ball forward a tiny little bit. We're going to put our heel on the floor behind the ball, and we're going to let our toes kind of curl around the ball so the ball is right under the big knuckles at the base of our toes here. And then we're just going to windshield wiper back and forth. So our heel's probably going to stay where it is, and we're just going to swish back and forth to try to get all those different parts of our toes to kind of articulate past each other. One of the things that most of us are guilty of is wearing shoes, and extremely supportive shoes, so much of the time that our foot ends up operating like one big bone, one big claw. And the reality is, outside of your hand, there are more bones in your foot than any other part of the body. And they're supposed to all articulate and move around past each other, and usually the easiest way to make them do that is with a ball, which is a part of what we're doing today, just trying to make all those joints move around and get used to feeling that way and moving that way. Good. All right, we're done with the bottom of our feet. Next thing we're going to do is going to be for our knees. So our knees have some big motions in them, right? The big motions that they do are generally flexing all the way in here and extending all the way out there. But they also have some accessory motions, and those accessory motions tend to disappear as we age. So one of the big ones that disappears is rotation. So if your femurs, which are your thigh bones, if they stay still and you take your toes and you point them all the way out, what's happening is your shin bone is actually twisting underneath your thigh bone. And that's normal. That's what's supposed to happen. It's how you go about the world. It's how you pivot when you walk. It's how you change directions. That's what's supposed to happen, is that your shin bone is actually supposed to rotate a little bit underneath your thigh bone. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to do some gentle mobilizations, where the easiest thing to do is to kind of grab around your calf here, and you're going to help to twist out just a gentle tiny little bit. So usually the easiest thing to do is to keep our to keep our heel on the ground, and to take our toes and kind of slide them out and then slide them back, and slide them out and then slide them back. All we're doing with our hands is we're kind of grabbing onto meat and bone here and helping to introduce just a little bit of that twist. So all I want you to do is to grab on here, and you're going to do about 10 of these and make sure they're very gentle. You don't want to push hard at the end, because a lot of people, if they have any kind of arthritis or any kind of MCL problems or meniscus problems on the inside of their knee, it won't feel very good. All you're going to do is just go to the kind of natural end where it stops and come right back. We're going to do about 10 of those on this side. Good, so we've got 10 done there. And then you can do the exact same thing on the other side. You can grab on to kind of the meat and bone in your lower leg, and then we're going to do the same thing. Keep our heel on the ground, and we're just going to twist our toes out a little bit. And if it hurts to go all the way to the end, please don't go all the way to the end. Just go to the point where you can feel a little bit of a pressure or a little bit of a pull, and then come back again. We're going to do 10 on this side as well. Good. All right, we've got 10 there. So for most people, that's going to put a little bit of discomfort or a little bit of strain on the inside of their knees. That's entirely fine. That's normal. One of the ways that our body adapts to these kinds of stresses is by first creating a little bit of strain, and then our body gets stronger as a result. So don't worry about that. As long as it isn't horribly painful for you and it goes away, that's entirely fine. But if it was painful for you, please just dial it back next time we do it and don't go quite as far. The next thing that we're going to do is going to require our loop that we talked about at the start of the day. So if you have a band that you need to tie into a loop, feel free to do that now. If you have an actual loop already made, what we're going to do is we're going to start by putting it on right up here. So we're going to take this loop and we're going to put it on just below our knees. So we have muscles on the outside of our hips, in the front of our hips, in the back of our hips, and a big part of what they do is they control where our thighs go and where our knees go in space. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our feet and we're going to spread them to about shoulder width apart. We're going to let the band pull our knees in a little bit, and then we're going to spread all the way out. So when we do that, usually the inside of our feet and our toes are going to come off the ground. That's entirely fine. So all you've got to do is kind of use your butt muscles and your hips to pull out as far as you can, and then let them come right back in again and do the same thing again. So we're going to do about 10 repetitions of that. Once you're in position, all I want you to do is to make sure that you have a small pause in the middle, a small pause at the end, and then come back again. 10 reps starting now. We've just got one more, and there's 10. Let's take a short little break, then we're going to do that again. So just let the band relax a little bit. You can bring your legs and your feet together just to try to hopefully let this take the slack off a little bit. Now the second round, because we're already a little bit fatigued, we're only going to do 5 repetitions. So by the time you feel like you're ready, we're going to get back into the same position again, get our feet a little further apart, our knees a little further apart, and we're going to do 5 repetitions with a pause on the outside and a pause on the inside, making sure we're going slow and controlled. So start with 5 more right now. Good, and I'm just going to do 1 extra because I didn't pause as much as I wanted, and that's it. All right, so we can take the loop off now. The next exercise that we're doing is a mobilization for our spine. And so we call these hula hoops because essentially what we're going to be doing is moving our hips and our rib cage around almost as if we had a hula hoop on, but we're going to do it in slow motion without a hula hoop. So generally what we're going to do is we're going to try to get nice and supported, we're going to get nice and upright, and we're going to move kind of from our midsection, so from our belly button, from the space between our ribs and our pelvis in here. And all we're going to do is we're going to draw circles like this. So at the very front, you're going to have everything aimed forward, then you're going to have it all aimed this way, then you're going to have it all aimed back, then all aimed the other way, and then all aimed forward again. So it's just going to be these tiny little circles here. If you want to be really extravagant about it, you're welcome to make the circles really big and create a lot of tension doing it. But most of the time we want to do this just to mobilize our spine, just to get all the fluids flowing in there that need to, and just to make sure everything feels good. So we're going to start just by having belly facing forward, being nice and upright, and then we're going to stick our belly out, twist off to the left, twist backwards, off to the right, and then forward again. So let's do that 10 times. I'm going to start by going counterclockwise. We're going to take a break, then we're going to do 10 times the other direction. Okay? So do 10 slow circles starting now. And don't worry about making them too big. I would rather you have control and use just a little minimal bit of tension at the start. Good. So we've done 10 in one direction, take a little break, try to let your posture relax a little bit, even if it means just slouching and letting everything relax. And then once you're ready, feel free to get back into the same upright position, nice and engaged, and we're going to do 10 circles going the opposite of whatever direction you just went. So let's do 10 more, starting right now. We've just got one more loop here, and there we go. And again, take a little break, try to let everything relax as much as you can. We're done with the hula hoops for now. The last exercise that we've got today is going to be for our shoulder girdles. And the reason we call them a shoulder girdle rather than a joint is because our shoulder complex up here is actually made up of a whole bunch of joints. We have what's called a sternoclavicular joint and a acromioclavicular joint, a glenohumeral joint, a scapulothoracic joint, and all the joints in our spine that are involved in this. So when I say we're going to move our shoulder girdle or our shoulder complex, we're just going to move all of it all over the place. So we call these controlled articular rotations, which is a fancy word for circles. We're just going to do circles with them. And so all we're going to do is get into a nice upright position, and we're going to do essentially with our shoulder what we did with our spine, just in a different plane of motion. So we're going to start by taking our shoulder forward, and then it's going to come up towards our ear, it's going to go back, down towards our back pocket, forward, and then up again. So all we're doing is this slow circle like this. So for most people, I'd prefer that you do it one arm at a time. We're just designed to move one arm and one leg at a time in alternating fashion. So we're going to do one at a time, and that's primarily so that we can get a lot of extra movement through our rib cage as well and get nice and mobilized. So we're going to start with the right arm. We're going to do 10 circles where we start forward and then go up and then back and then continue in that motion. Let's do 10, starting right now. All I want you to do is make sure that you're going slow enough that you've got control. And if your hand moves along your thigh or wherever else it's going, that's entirely fine. Some people find that even making a fist and having their arm hover will get them feeling like they have even more range of motion, and that's entirely fine. Let's just do 3 more here. Good. So there's 10 on that side. Take a little breath, let the whole thing out, relax for a second. Then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So this one again, we're going to go forward, up, back, down, forward. And we're going to do the exact same thing for 10 reps on the left side, or the other side of what you just did. Let's start that now. Good, so we've got about 10 on that side. Let's shake it out a little bit. Take a big breath, let everything relax, and that's it. We're done for day number 1. I'll see you again tomorrow for day number 2.